Welcome to our third and final part of the dwarf painting tutorial. This is the light parts of the painting. So I'm going to start with the hood. The light paint is just catching on the edges and the raised surfaces now. I'm trying not to be too careful, but equally I don't want to be too slap happy. Try and catch the bits that are raised up on the moulding. This is where nicely moulded figures help. Leave the other two shades showing through. You need to be careful that you don't do it in straight lines, because you end up with an odd effect. But a lot of this is just done by eye. Just have a look and see what you think. A little tiny bit perhaps there. And that's the pale blue finished. On his flesh, the face, I've already picked out some lighter bits, so this time I'm just going to do the nose. If he had a chin, I'd do the chin, but you can't see his chin because of his beard. So I'm just putting a dot on each cheek, and I'm just catching the top of his forehead. I'm not putting any eyes on, but the dark paint where it stays inside the eye sockets gives it a nice look anyway. And on the hands, I come down each finger and come down each finger. I then do just a block of colour on the back of the hand, again where the light's catching it, and I leave the rest. I tend to do flesh quite random, and I find that gives it a really good effect at distance. Hair can be done all different colours: black, brown, pale yellowy colours for blonde. I use the orange here for the ginger, and I did mention in the first tutorial that the dark ginger colour was almost the same shade as the dark flesh, but that as you put the lighter colours on, you would start to see a big difference. And the orange there is really quite bright and shows all the different features. And I've left the lips the dark colour of orange. I've not put a red on there, I've just left it orange. This is the phlegm green for the tunic. I like phlegm green, it's my favourite foundry green. I use it on all sorts of orc and goblin skin, as well as clothing. And here, again, I'm just looking for any areas where I might have smudged another colour on, or where the creases of the clothing stand out, or where large areas of clothing like the shoulders look like they might catch the sun, leaving the other colours showing through. So I'm just trying to catch the edges of the folds. There's a little bit there that was showing silver through. I like doing these touchy note bits at the end. They don't take long, and they really bring your figure to life. First few coats, especially the first coat, the dark colour, is a bit boring really, but it's worth doing so that you can get this really nice effect towards the end. I can see bits where his belt's smudged onto his tunic, and here there's some really deep creases, and I'm leaving them dark. I'm not even going near them. The advantage of these really thin foundry brushes is that you can get into places that would be harder with a thicker brush. And that's it, there we are, that's the pale green finished. On the madder red, there aren't really creases on this chap's sleeves, so I'm just hitting it in places where I think the light might shine, on the cuffs and on the elbows. And that is all it needs. There we go. Add a red. With this method of painting, putting on these final touches is definitely the best part. It doesn't take long because you've already covered the figure, and you're just looking for highlights and points of interest, and you're trying to leave the other two colours on the figure. So it really is just a question of using your eye, having a look, seeing where you think the light's going to hit. And if you will like it and you're enjoying doing it, then it's right. I think that will do for his yellow leg. I'm going to do his red leg next. It's also nice when you start to put your paints away. I've only got a few, I've got 4 tubs left now. When you think of the long line I had at the start, you can see you've made some real progress. Scarlet's a lovely colour. Foundry Scarlet is an excellent colour for all sorts of figures. Really nice, vivid, rich scarlet colour. And just like I did with the yellow leg, I'm just looking to pick out areas, just check. If you do leave an area and you don't put this medium colour on, it does look quite dead and flat, so you've got to be careful you don't miss any bits out. But there it is, nice and quick, a red leg. Earlier on, I said I noticed on his axe handle that there was a leather bindings, which I've decided to put on with buff leather. And with this light buff, I'm just looking to pick out the areas where the light shines, and I'm leaving the rest very dark indeed. So that's really quick, and that'll do. Now on the deep brown leather, I've got 2 little packs that he's wearing, and again I'm just catching the light on them. I'm not painting the whole thing, I'm just touching them. Tiniest little bit on the belt, and again these thin brushes of Foundries are absolutely perfect for this. Just touch along, catch the area where the leather's taking the light. Same with the boots. Not painting the whole of the boot, I'm just catch the heel, catch the top of the boot, catch the toe. Just check that I've not smudged his trouser legs onto the boots anywhere. There's a little smudge there, so I'll just go over that with the brown leather now. Try not to touch it because it comes off with on your hands. It's a little bit tricky to show you what I'm doing because I tend to hold the base. And I think there's silver I missed. That's the brown leather for his boots. Burnished copper. The burnished copper, which is the parts of his weapons. I'm just catching the blade, where the light catches the blade because it's thinner and sharper, and a little bit of detail where it's joined onto the main wooden part of the axe. Now that's the whole figure painted. I'm just going to very quickly do a base to show you how I do the bases. Because I make a lot of scenery and I do a lot of bases, rather than use expensive foundry paint, I went to the local do-it-yourself shop and got them to mix me up a pot, big pot of dark green, and they do that on a computer now. Put a little label on with exactly the details of the mixture, so if you want you can go back reorder the same paint over and over again. I don't mix any glue with this, it's just do-it-yourself shop vinyl matte emulsion. I'm using a brush that I don't worry about because this is a process that's quite horrible on brushes. Trying not to smudge on the boots, but if you smudge a little bit it's not the end of the world because it just looks as if his foot has sunk down into the mud. On some figures I paint this part of the base on the top and then I put the flock on, and then I paint the sides. But on this chap, because his base is so small, I'm just going to paint the whole thing. So I'll paint all the base, including the sides. Make sure I've covered it all. Pop that in there, and then I just take the figure and rub him about in my flock. You can get flock from anywhere, railway scenery shops. There he is. The paint will stick him on. Now the flock tends to get itself all over the figure at this point. But if you give it a quick blow, that will get rid of the flock for you. I have an old doormat, and I've pulled the bristles out of the doormat. I'll just cut myself a few of these. I have an old doormat that I use for reeds, so I've cut a little bit of the doormat off, and I dip it in the glue, stick that on there, and then he has some nice grass growing behind him. And that's the final bit of our third tutorial on how to paint a dwarf figure. I hope you like him.